A 22-year-old man is in custody and expected to be charged with the assassination of right-wing commentator Charlie Kirk. The suspect has been identified as Tyler Robinson, who was recognized by relatives in CCTV images that were released to the public.
The United States was shaken when news broke of the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, a figure known for his polarizing speeches and strong political presence. For days, uncertainty clouded the investigation. Who could have carried out such a brazen attack, and why? On a Friday morning, President Donald Trump himself broke the silence on national television. Speaking on Fox and Friends, he confirmed that a suspect had been taken into custody. That suspect was later revealed as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, a Utah resident now facing charges in connection with the fatal shooting. The arrest set off a storm of questions. How was Robinson identified? What led him to target Kirk? And what does this shocking crime mean for an America already grappling with political polarization and violence? Chapter 1. The Arrest. On September 13th, Utah Governor Spencer Cox stood before reporters with a simple but powerful statement: "We got him." The announcement confirmed what President Trump had hinted earlier that day. Authorities had located and detained the individual suspected of killing Charlie Kirk. Tyler Robinson was arrested after a family member came forward with troubling information. That relative told investigators Robinson had confessed or implied that he was behind the shooting. Acting quickly, law enforcement traced his movements and secured enough evidence to bring him into custody. The arrest ended a tense manhunt that drew more than 200 tips from across the country. It also offered a measure of relief to Kirk supporters and to a nation horrified by the brazen act. But as officials explained the details, the story became even more disturbing. Chapter 2. How authorities caught him. Investigators pieced the case together step by step. According to Governor Cox, Robinson's family had noticed a change in his behavior in recent years. He had become more politically outspoken, frequently expressing frustration with conservative figures. On September 11th, a family member confided to a friend that Robinson had admitted involvement in the shooting. That tip reached local law enforcement and soon triggered a full-scale response. Detectives visited Robinson's home and spoke directly with relatives. They learned he had attended a dinner days before the incident, where he spoke about his disdain for Kirk and the upcoming event at Utah Valley University. The statements painted a picture of premeditation. Physical evidence later confirmed those suspicions. Investigators found a bolt-action rifle hidden in a wooded area near campus, along with bullet casings inscribed with chilling messages like, "Hey, fascist!" Catch. Chapter 3. The Crime Scene. Charlie Kirk had been scheduled to appear at Utah Valley University on September 10th for a speaking event. Witnesses recalled heightened security, but no one anticipated the violence that would unfold. As Kirk exited the venue, shots rang out, striking him fatally. Panic spread through the crowd as attendees scrambled for safety. Forensic teams quickly secured the area. They recovered shell casings that later tied back to Robinson's rifle. Investigators noted that the inscriptions on the casings suggested the act was politically motivated, though formal charges were still being developed. The discovery of the weapon in a wooded patch near campus added further weight. Wrapped in a towel, the rifle appeared to have been hastily concealed. These details built the foundation of the prosecution's case. Chapter 4. The Suspect. Tyler Robinson was no career criminal. Records show he was a registered nonpartisan voter with no major criminal history. Friends and neighbors described him as quiet, even withdrawn, but in recent years more openly political. Family accounts suggest he became increasingly frustrated with national debates and conservative rhetoric. At that dinner before the shooting, relatives recalled Robinson criticizing Kirk as full of hate and spreading hate. While such opinions are not uncommon in political discourse, investigators now believe Robinson's frustration may have escalated into lethal action. Authorities emphasize that Robinson acted alone. At this time, no other suspects are anticipated, though the investigation remains open. His case underscores how individuals, even without a criminal past, can be driven toward acts of political violence. Chapter 5. The President's Announcement. What made this case unusual was not only the crime itself, but the way it was revealed. President Trump chose to announce the arrest live on Fox and Friends before local authorities had given details. His statement, "A suspect is in custody," sparked immediate headlines. Hours later, Governor Cox and state officials confirmed Robinson's identity and the charges. While some praised Trump for bringing national attention to the case, others questioned the decision to break news of an active investigation on morning television. The president also announced that he would attend Kirk's funeral in Arizona, a gesture seen by many as both personal and political. Kirk had been a staunch supporter of Trump, and his death reverberated through conservative circles. Chapter 6. Political Climate and Polarization. Charlie Kirk himself embodied America's culture wars. As the founder of Turning Point USA, he traveled to campuses nationwide, energizing conservative students while clashing with progressive activists. His events often sparked protest, sometimes peaceful and sometimes confrontational. For his supporters, these moments were proof that conservative voices were being silenced. For his critics, they highlighted the polarizing nature of his message. Kirk's prominence in this arena made him both highly visible and highly controversial. Some argue that his influence helped give young conservatives a sense of community and identity. Others contend that his approach deepened divisions, framing politics as a constant battle rather than a space for debate. The tragedy of his assassination is magnified by this context. A man who thrived on controversy became the ultimate victim of political violence. Chapter 7. The Evidence. The physical evidence against Robinson appears substantial. The rifle recovered near campus matched ballistic tests linking it to the shooting. The bullet casings with inscriptions suggested intent and ideology behind the attack. Authorities also obtained testimony from multiple family members, one of whom recalled Robinson confessing or heavily implying involvement. Together, these elements formed a strong case for prosecutors. Formal charges are expected to include first-degree murder, unlawful possession of a firearm, and possibly charges related to domestic terrorism, depending on how prosecutors interpret the political overtones. Chapter 8. Community Reaction. In Utah and beyond, the news sparked waves of shock. Utah Valley University mourned the tragedy, with students holding vigils for Kirk despite the controversy surrounding his politics. Many expressed fear that violence had invaded what should have been a forum for debate. For Kirk's supporters, the murder was seen as a direct attack on free speech. Conservative commentators decried the act as evidence of rising hostility toward their movement. On the other hand, some activists urged restraint, warning against politicizing the tragedy before all facts were established. The community's divided reaction reflected the broader divisions in American society. Chapter 9. Broader Implications. The Kirk case also raises operational questions for law enforcement. How can agencies better track the warning signs of lone actors like Robinson without infringing on civil liberties? Unlike organized extremist groups, individuals who act independently leave fewer digital footprints, making detection far harder. Investigators often rely on family members or friends to step forward, as in this case, but not every situation ends with such cooperation. Experts caution that the line between constitutionally protected political expression and potential incitement to violence is difficult to draw. Experts caution that the line between constitutionally protected political expression and potential incitement to violence is difficult to draw. While free speech is a cornerstone of American democracy, threats, violent rhetoric, and symbolic actions, like the inscriptions on Robinson's bullet casings, can blur that boundary. The challenge for authorities will be preventing future attacks while preserving freedoms. Chapter 10. Legal Path Forward. As Robinson sits in jail, the legal process begins. Prosecutors are preparing formal charges, and defense attorneys will likely argue about his mental state, political motivations, and constitutional rights. The trial promises to draw national attention, with both supporters and critics of Kirk watching closely. Legal experts suggest the inscriptions on the casings could be critical in establishing intent. If prosecutors frame the case as politically motivated, Robinson could face enhanced penalties. However, his lack of criminal history may also shape sentencing if he is convicted. The case is expected to become a defining moment in how the justice system addresses politically charged violence. Chapter 11: The Funeral and Legacy. Charlie Kirk's funeral, scheduled in Arizona, is expected to draw national leaders, including President Trump. For many conservatives, it will be a moment to honor a man they viewed as a defender of their ideals. For others, it will be a reminder of the dangerous climate surrounding political discourse. Kirk's legacy is complex. Admired by many, criticized by others, he represented the sharp divides in modern America. His death, however, transcends politics. It is a tragedy of violence cutting short a life, leaving behind grieving family, friends, and supporters. How America remembers Kirk. As a martyr for free speech, a polarizing figure, or simply as a victim of senseless violence, will shape his place in history. Reflective closing paragraph. The murder of Charlie Kirk and the arrest of Tyler Robinson exposed the fragile state of America's democracy. A young man's frustration escalated into violence, cutting short the life of a political figure whose work both inspired and angered millions. The case reminds us that beyond policy debates and party lines, words and actions carry consequences. If society cannot find a way to channel disagreement peacefully, tragedies like this may become all too familiar. Ultimately, the assassination of Charlie Kirk forces Americans to confront uncomfortable truths. Political disagreement has always been part of democracy, but when it crosses into hostility and violence, the very foundation of civil society is at risk. The case demonstrates how personal frustrations, when mixed with ideological intensity, can spiral into acts that shock the nation. It also compels reflection on the future of public discourse. Can universities, political organizations, and communities create safer spaces for debate? Can citizens disagree passionately without resorting to dehumanization? These questions go beyond one suspect and one victim. They touch the essence of what it means to sustain a democracy in an era of division. The arrest in the Charlie Kirk murder case closes one chapter but opens many more. The investigation, the trial, and the political fallout will shape national conversations for months to come. What do you think? Does this case reveal deeper issues about political extremism in America, or was it the isolated act of one troubled individual? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth documentaries exploring the stories that shape our world.